What's up, YouTubers? Welcome to the second part of Dark Scarlet Security Shield, picking up where we left off. This section right here disables a task manager. It basically goes into the registry and other policies. Um, and then as we move on, when you want to schedule a task at the highest mandatory level, you are going in basically and creating an administrative task for your program to start up. And to do that, there's some certain things that we have to do. These are some tricks that malware writers use and ransomware to get into people's systems um, if they're using it to, obviously create programs that are to create you great problems or whatever, or for ransom. This program isn't for that, and just because the code's here, code is here to protect the software that Scarlet is. It's to make sure there's no piracy involved, which is why the form has my email address on it. If something were to ever happen and someone got locked out of their computer, I would work with them and try to find out why it is they didn't have their password and come to an agreement to fix their computer for them. If they were trying to pirate it, I definitely wouldn't turn them in. Not that much of a dick. But I do believe in, if you're putting hard work into some program that you have and you're doing it for a living to take care of your family, then that's how I protect my interest. And it's not like it's a secret about what this program will do if you try to pirate it. But anyway, we're moving on to the GPO CD inlet. It creates a GPO with a specified name. And by default, the only created GPO is not linked to a site, domain, or organizational unit. Yeah, you can use this CDM to create a GPO that is based on the starter GPO by specific BigEd or display name of the starter GPO. So basically what this is doing is it's creating its own policy. And this is kind of how it initiates that. As we move on, the output process, we move into the possession part of owning the system via the security identifier. So what is a security identifier? Security identifier is the name is basically this number that you see here. Okay, this number identifies who the user is and all these different things. As we get going, who am I is a command prompt code that you can use that will bring up security identifiers and stuff like that. In fact, I will see if this will do anything for me. As you can see, this brings up and it'll go through and you can see these identification numbers here, okay? And it's going in saying whether it's a local group or whatever it may be. And user claims are unknown or whatnot. But anyway, you have, the authority of the program. You have security identification numbers, basically, an administrative one or whatnot. What this is doing is taking whoever's number it is and they are going in, and what this does here, it creates owner ID and discovers a security identifier to be replaced by an administrative one at the highest mandatory admin level, okay? The security identifier SID is to uniquely identify a security principal or security group. Security principals can be represented by any entity that can be authenticated by the operating system, such as a user account, computer account, or a thread or a process that runs in the security context of a user or a computer account. I've left all these notes in here that you can read through, but it goes in and explains exactly how this process works so you guys can better understand it. I could sit here and read it all to you, but it's I will read this part, how a security identifier works. It uses, users refer to accounts by using the account name by the operating system initially refers to accounts and processes. that run in the security context of account by using their security identifiers, which were those numbers that we saw, also known as the SIDs, security identification numbers. For domain accounts, the SIDs are unique within their scope, domain or local, and they are never reused. So this is basically going in and it is saying, hey, I want to now be an administrator. This is what this program's doing. And it's going in and elevating the process privileges for the run as. Now, normally you would have to go under your application manifest if we were to pull that up. And I were to go to here. You can see right here where you have elevated, where you can do it as admin. Normally you would remove this one and you would remove this one and you would also remove these here so they would light up. Basically, if I were to take these off, you can see that this would move up and this would be removed, this bottom line here and this one here, and this would be saying, hey, required administrative, whatever. However, the process that I'm using bypasses all that. You don't have to go through this bullshit, which is a headache in itself. And so basically, if we're going down through here, and this is basically elevating process privilege, and computing run as is a command in the Microsoft line of operating systems that allow the user to run at a specific level for program interactivity or whatever. So now we're going in and we're getting higher level as admin. Now that the information is gathered, we create a backdoor into the system via entry of task scheduler. And task scheduler and registry are the two most vulnerable features in Windows the Windows operating systems, just for the record. And that's why they're targeted. It's actually pretty easy to do once you get into coding. Now, this subcontractor basically goes in and it is going in and scheduling a task to create at the highest on logon Scarlet Centurium, and it is basically setting values into the registry to be able to run, and it's setting its name into the registry and it's telling it to run once. So when it starts up, Scarlet will be into the system and ready to run. And that's why when this program would boot back up, that's why you would end up seeing the screen, the login screen again, because that's where your computer would be, and you would have no desktop when it started back up. Scarlet would literally go in and remove your user account, literally disable the BC edit, which there are different commands for that go in and disable your different sections of your boot menu, such as auto recovery and different things like that. Scarlet goes in and does all that. And soil work is just a backup. It's always good to have a backup in case the other one fails. You're going to see that a lot in my coding. I suggest that if you ever do get Scarlet and you're using it and you run into a jam, you forget your password, to just contact me, because I will be more than happy to help you. I'm not going to leave you in rambles with your computer. Just whatever you do, don't enter your password wrong the third time. It'll warn you twice, and then after that, you're screwed. So please do not do that. This is basically going into, if Scarlet, it's a watcher basically watching Scarlet. If her application someone tries to throw it away, it'll restart the computer and Scarlet will rewrite itself. And there's a child process here, revive parent process and child process, which does a file copy in the event something goes haywire. So we're moving on. This moves on. This is another watcher that basically is going through and doing the same thing. It's going into run at startup into registry. Once they are copied, the parent and the child process, Scarlet the parent. And the other thing I haven't got into yet with you, which will be in the next tutorial, which is it's called Dark Probe, which watches over Scarlet. It runs separately from this program, and you won't see it when it's running. It's there, and it is making sure that nothing is happening with the program. But that only happens if that program will only activate if Scarlet is pirated or somebody tries to pirate Scarlet. It won't start up until that happens. Just for the record, I wouldn't steer you wrong. I wouldn't lie to you. This is basically going into registry, all this shit. If it's renamed, if it's deleted or whatever. This is basically going into your flash drive. If a flash drive, after Scarlet takes over your system from the piracy, basically, if you try to insert a flash drive into her, this program will copy itself to that and auto start itself from that flash drive. So if you think you're going to, put in a, flash drive to, in hopes of installing a new operating system, that's not going to happen. This program will override it. So anyway, that covers that, and I am going to go ahead and move forward with Dark Probe and kind of get into that with you and explain it. And this concludes the second end and final conclusion of Scarlet Security Shield.